Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Karan Johar, sorry, in conversation with Sadhguru. So this is the longer version of the one I reacted to. The one I reacted to earlier was the rapid fire questions. I said there's a longer one. This is 3 hours long, so let's see how many videos this is going to turn out to be. I watched the first 24 minutes of it. Well, not all 24 minutes of it. I watched a good bit of it though. It was really. I liked the music in the very beginning. I will say the guy in the violin was really good. He was holding it very awkward though. I've never seen anyone hold a violin like that. And I will say at around 9:50, mute it, turn it down, or remove your headphones because it's going to be quite loud. But throughout the thing, we're showing very different images and playing the music, and got to this point. So let's go ahead and get started.
Good morning.
It's going to be quite low here.
We'll begin the program in a few moments from now, so could we request you to take your seats, please?
But I think the video would be loud. I kind of skipped ahead just to make sure everything was right. Oh, I thought I skipped far.
We'd like to welcome all of you to what promises to be a particularly
CC is on.
interesting edition of In Conversation with the Mystic. But before we begin, could we request you to take your seats and to remain seated for the entire duration of this event?
Whew.
If you were to get up and leave, it would be disruptive to the speakers and to other members of the audience. So please do remain seated till the end.
I hope you.
And would you also turn off your cell phones if you haven't already? We'll just pause for a moment so you can turn off your cell phones at this point.
I hope they want to go use the restroom. Or maybe I should have skipped a little bit ahead.
Conversation with the Mystic is a series that's devoted to dialogue. We've had people of prominence from different walks of life, from different disciplines, of different persuasions, entering into a spirited, freewheeling exchange with Sadhguru. We've had people from fields as diverse as health and sport, business and politics, education and the environment. We've had quite a gamut. But today is a session that I think we are all particularly curious about, not just because it's a conversation between a movie maker and a mystic. We've had that combination before.
Oh, they turned it up.
Because there is something particularly unlikely, and therefore perhaps initially a little disconcerting, about the thought of a delightfully, determinedly frothy Sunday 9 p.m. television talk show host in conversation with a mystic and a guru. And yet, it's perhaps for that very reason that this session will be an unusually interesting one, full of...
No, sorry. I wanted to pause real quick. I wanted to talk to what she said earlier about this series is about a conversation with people. And I fear that is severely lacking in today's age, especially at least in the United States, and more than likely in the West. It is so divisive that talking about touchy matters, you're canceled. You have people with far extreme views. That's why whenever someone talked about how in Hindu, in the past where people would come together and debate each other, I'm like, oh, that's genuinely like mind-blowing. Honestly, that's fantastic. You get people up on the stage and people can gather around to listen to each other talk about their points of views, and then to make up their own minds. Here now you get an echo chamber and just scream something out and it just bounces off and you hear the same thing over and over again. There's no longer the debate in this world, or at least in the West, probably, yeah, West, probably in the United States. It's saddening. I mean, they do have it, but it just, I feel like echo chambers are just much louder.
of unexpected moments. And as someone who's especially enjoyed the rocking rapid-fire round of the Karan Johar show, and as someone who knows that Sadhguru is equally adept at rocking rapid-fire replies, I think we all know that this morning is going to be a distinctly entertaining one. I'd like to briefly introduce the speakers to you. Sadhguru, of course, is well known to everyone here, as he is elsewhere. A spiritual master with a difference, who represents a unique blend of the mystical and the logical. He's the recipient of the Padma Vibhushan earlier this year, and he's the best-selling author of several books, most recently, Adi Yogi, The Source of Yoga. And of course, he's the founder of Isha, an organization with human well-being as its core commitment, with over 7 million volunteers worldwide. I'd like to invite you to watch a short video on Sadhguru.
You see the
next half
the
hour,
talker
you're going to
looking
meet
at the
a man
camera.
who has a devoted following across India
Karan.
and indeed around the world. While yoga and meditation are at the core of his teachings to promote individual growth, the work of the foundation covers conservation. In the next half hour, you're going to meet a man who has a devoted following across India and indeed around the world. While yoga and meditation are at the core of his teachings to promote individual growth, the work of the foundation covers conservation, education and health. And you'll find him astonishingly pragmatic on a range of very modern-day problems. Let's meet Sadhguru.
For the very first time in the history of humanity, we have the necessary resource, we have the necessary capability, we have the necessary technology to address every human problem on the planet. Even 25 years ago, we couldn't have dreamt of it. But the only thing that is missing is consciousness.
Today, the spotlight is on a project called Green Hands in India.
We started a mass campaign and 6 years I spent planting trees in people's heads. That's the most difficult terrain, believe me. And now in the last 6 years, we've been transplanting it, and that's happening much more easily.
He ain't lying about planting trees in people's head. It is definitely difficult. And man, again, like I said about the echo chambers, those trees has been watered by one cup of water, and that is it. And those things have been rooted in to the brain. It's so difficult to unroot the echo chambers of ideas.
Action for Rural Rejuvenation is mainly aimed at rejuvenating the human spirit.
English and computer skills are very essential to make these children come out of the hopeless economic and social pit they are in.
If you could first tell our viewers, what is the idea behind it? Initiative, insight, which is more specific towards entrepreneurs.
Whatever the nature of your business, ultimately, it is all about human well-being.
Isha Foundation, a non-religious, non-profit public service organisation headquartered in southern India.
We've engineered the outside world in so many ways, but we've done nothing about this one. If you want to know well-being, in is the only way out.
This is what I want to teach you too. That is, you can be completely intoxicated without any drug, just on life. This is a shift from wine to divine.
How can you love one and hate the other when the same divine exists in all? Spiritual process is not about looking up or looking down, it is about turning inward. See, the only thing that I'm really good at is just this. I can just make the air around me just crackle with energy.
Kohima, Tennessee. So I did talk about wanting to do a road trip to this place in Tennessee. I thought it was in Chattanooga, but I think it's slightly off of Chattanooga. I definitely got to plan it out, and I don't know how I'd do it though. I do want to so bad, and I want to go to, hopefully it'd be nice to go to a trip up to Tennessee to see this and film it, obviously, like a vlog style, like someone said in the comments. And yeah, I was looking at getting a camera that's like 360 so that I don't have to, watch where I'm going. I just hold it up and it's 360, and I can adjust it later actually, or maybe even have it just pure 360. and just go and experience it. I would love to go there during when Sadhguru is there and just attend a session. I don't know what's exactly planned. Just to go experience the place, if nothing else. I don't have to necessarily attend a session. Just to go there and see what the energy's like and to enjoy the beauty of the place. That at the very least, I will say. And then maybe continue the trip from Tennessee up north to New York City to go see Swami Sarvapriyananda if I can. But that's a lot of money and a lot of time, and I don't have either of those really. But Tennessee is a little bit more probable. It's a lot closer to me than New York City. But that's closer doesn't necessarily mean close. I definitely got to look it up though, where it's at, and see if I can plan it and see where Sadhguru is at as well, if possible.
Adi Yogi is the source of yoga, the first yogi.
Adi Yogi will inspire many generations to take up yoga. One truly remarkable thing that Sadhguru has done is, he has made yogis out of ordinary common people.
Wow.
If you have to describe yourself in one word,
would you consider wildlife as two words or one word?
It's… Dude has accomplished a lot. Done a lot.
President Pranab Mukherjee felicitating his Sadhguru for all his spiritual contribution.
Our guest speaker for today, who is of course none other than Karan Johar. One of India's best-known filmmakers today.
And it's quite a follow-up after seeing all the accomplishments Sadhguru has. And I don't know how accomplished he is relative to Sadhguru, but that's a hard follow-up.
Known for his versatility, he's been actively involved in production, in screenwriting, in design. And ever since his debut film, Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, he's been the maker of several iconic, well-loved films under the banner of Dharma Productions. And he's, of course, the talk show host of a very popular show, Coffee with Karan. Before I invite him on stage, I'd also like to take this opportunity to let you know that we are launching a DVD and a book on this occasion, and we'd like to ask Karan to launch that. The first is a DVD which is entitled Mahabharat, Through the Mystic Eye. And this is a DVD based on a unique 8-day festival that was conducted at the Isha Yoga Center, guided by Sadhguru, in which participants were given the opportunity to relive the epic adventure into a glimpse into a once-in-a-lifetime event. Could I invite you to watch a very short DVD on the Mahabharat?
If there is a story on the planet that we can say represents this human creature or articulates what a human being is, this is it. This is not about good. This is not about bad. This is not about the right thing and the wrong thing. This is about exploring the human creature like he's never been explored in any other place. Looking at Duryodhana's story, looking at Dharmaraja's story, looking at Arjuna's story, looking at Krishna's story, you can explore yourself in a million different ways. Thousands of characters, each one of them a complete story by themselves.
Could I welcome Karan Johar on stage to launch the DVD? We'd also like to take this opportunity to ask our guest to unveil a new book. This is the Hindi version of a very popular cookbook, A Taste of Well-Being, in which Sadhguru offers a yogic take on the whole world of cuisine, particularly relevant to us in an age of crash diets and food fads. It's a book that allows you to reclaim for yourself the joy of the simple act of eating right. We'd welcome you to pick up the book on your way out. For now, I'd request Karan to launch the book.
I wonder if there's an English version. Especially the recipes. I wouldn't mind trying them out and trying cooking them. Always learn to cook. I can cook some things.
Thank you. And it's now time for the conversation to begin. Could I invite on stage Sadhguru?
Whew, 37 minutes in. I mean, I cut out the very beginning portion, which was just a lot of music and a lot of shows and pictures of, I guess, the area that they're at. Karan.
Good morning, sir. Namaskar. Two things I've never been in my life are thin and nervous. And I still haven't been able to get over the former, but the latter is still very operational at this moment. It's because I don't know what to say, because I feel I've lived with you in this last week. I've done all my research, watched all your shows.
See, you have done your homework, but because I'm homeless, I've done my homework.
I've done a fair amount of my homework. I've watched everyone from Anupam Kher to Juhi Chawla in conversation with you, Barkha Dutt, to a very subdued Arnab Goswami as well. I do believe in your mystical power because you managed to achieve that. And I think that is not anything lesser of an achievement that you've done with your span of tremendous work, Sadhguru. So my felicitations on that achievement. And more than anything else, when I just saw the AV that all of us saw, I've heard all these terminologies associated with you, which is from, you know, the monk on a motorcycle, rock star spiritual energy. And I saw that happen. You're on a motorbike, you're flying a helicopter. So there are so many terms, as I said, rock star spiritual energy, and I want to create my own one and say you're like almost the Santa Claus of spirituality, because you bring the energy through that chimney of life, and I think have really touched so many millions of people across the world. So we're blessed to be in your presence at this moment, and I can't wait to be in conversation, which is I'm going to start, but I just want to start by saying that this is truly an honor, so thank you.
I appreciate people who appreciate things. I just feel in America, there's not a lot of people who appreciate even the simple things they have. It is genuinely, maybe that's what I just see a lot of. I'm sure there's a lot of people who appreciate things, but it's just the ones that don't appreciate things, you just see on an everyday basis.
I mean, as a filmmaker, as a human being, as a member of a humanitarian community, my head is always buzzing with so many questions. And I think we bottle it down to some spiritual inquiries, some religious ones. There's always been a debate about these two terms, religion and then spirituality. There are people who feel like, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, and I'm not quite sure they know the meaning of that. But they use it because sometimes terms are just thrown around. To those people who are at the crossroad between religion and spirituality, what is your answer to that dilemma?
So we must understand this. It is in the very nature of human intelligence that if you do not know something, if you realize you do not know something, because most people do not realize that they do not know. If you realize that you do not know, it's very natural for your intelligence to seek to know. It doesn't need a guru, it doesn't need a scripture, it doesn't need somebody to introduce that to you. It is in the nature of your intelligence that you wish to know. There are lots of experiments to show, even mice, if you leave them in a place, within 2 minutes, they will research everything in that space. For their own reasons, of course. For survival reasons, they, inquire into everything around them to find out how the place is. Human intelligence goes beyond survival. So naturally, human intelligence seeks to know many more things which does not concern our survival. Yes, we are concerned about survival till a point, but once that's taken care of, we cannot rest. We want to know more, endlessly more. The more we realize we do not know, the more the longing to know. So this longing to know, when it finds a very intense expression in the form of seeking, we call this spiritual process. Or in other words, the basis of spirituality is a realization that I do not know. But the moment you say, I'm religious, you refer to yourself as a believer. When you say you're a believer, what you're saying is, everything that I do not know, I will make it up. How I make it up? Whose help I seek to make it up? Maybe varying from person to person, somebody makes it up with scriptural assistance, somebody makes it up with the assistance of a priest or a pandit or a guru or whatever. But you seek some authority. You kind of make a compromise in your life.
I just want to interrupt real quick because whenever I hear religion, I think of Bhakti Yoga, but there is a difference here. The Bhakti Yoga, you just give up questions and you devote yourself to God. You don't make up things. There's a difference there where you still live through life in reality, but you don't assume things. You just say, this is all for God and I'm going to do this all for God, but you still live in a realm of reality. Whereas religion, I guess, speaks about like Eastern religion. No, I meant like Abrahamic religion, Western religion, where it is literally you have scriptures and stuff where you say that this is what you must believe in order to believe the religion. Whereas I've not followed completely into Bhakti Yoga, but Bhakti Yoga, as far as I understand, is just a devotion to God and to devote everything you do towards God, and that's it. You don't have to believe in anything, as far as I can tell. Just the fact that devote yourself to God and let God handle everything else.
That instead of truth, you settle for an authority as the truth. Spiritual process means truth is the only authority for you. Authority is never the truth for you. So these are two different aspects, unfortunately spoken in the same breath most of the time. So, I would say spiritual process is far closer to scientific enquiry. See, even the fly is trying to investigate me.
Trust me, I'm not investigating, I'm just inquiring.
No, I
wish I was the size of that fly.
I did not use the word investigation in a negative way, nothing wrong with investigation.
Yes, totally.
Investigation means you want to know the truth.
Right.
Maybe it's done a little forcefully, like a fly.
Right.
It's coming to you now.
That's all I get these days.
No, if you get to fly, what more?
Yeah, so well, you manage pretty well. I have a fear of turbulence, so flying is not really on my top 3 things to do in life.
So, spiritual process does not demand belief, because belief and spiritual process cannot go together. Spiritual process is a constant inquiry. It is a way of sharpening your questions so that they dig deeper and deeper, not into something else but into yourself, the nature of your existence. Because the nature of human existence is such that in our experience, the only thing that you can experience is yourself. You actually believe you're experiencing many things, but you only know everything the way it happens within you. You do not know any other way. Even now if you see these people, it looks like they are there, but actually you know them or you see them only the way they projected in the firmament of our minds. There is no other way. There is no other way for you to experience this life except the way it happens within you. Now, spiritual process is a constant effort to see that the way that it happens within me is not a distorted vision, that my mirror is not a wonky mirror, it is a plain mirror, that it shows me things the way things are, it doesn't distort anything. Because of my thought, because of my emotion, because of my attachments, because of my identities.
Because of an echo chamber.
Because of the philosophies and ideologies that I identify with, I can distort my mirror. Now I deprive myself of all that so that I have a plain mirror and I get to see everything just the way it is. This is spiritual process.
No, well, thank you, because that's always been a continued dilemma, and I believe that the word spirituality is sometimes misused, where there's not a grave understanding of what it really is. And as you said, that the I don't know has immense power, and I think acknowledging the I don't knows of your life really means everything, and I wish people would start doing that, because according to me, sometimes delusion is the biggest disease that plagues humanity, when you're not aware of your own self.
No, there are there are all kinds of idiots on the planet.
Yeah, we work with many of them.
But we must understand this. In the very nature of who we are, it is like this. If you do something stupid today, tonight your intelligence will bother you. Why did I do this? This is the nature of human intelligence. But the moment your stupidity is either scripture endorsed or God endorsed, you can go on doing the same idiotic thing with enormous confidence. It gives you confidence without clarity. Confidence without clarity is a disastrous process. If you do not have clarity, at least you must have hesitation.
Yes, that's true. Well, I have to say that, you know, I want to personalize this a little bit. I was at a crossroad about 13 years ago, and my father was very critically ill. And at that juncture of my life, And before that, religion was organized in my life. It was what was taught to me. It was what I thought the right thing to do was. When he was in his last stage, there were things suggested to me which were, to me now, completely ridiculous, including going to a certain temple and feeding a cow of a certain color and, and doing a certain ritual at home, and all those things that one did without even thinking. Because as you said, when you spoke about the idiots on this planet, I was definitely one of those in that stage of my life.
I think we all were. I mean, we are humans. We make mistakes. We do stupid stuff. The best thing we can do is learn from these mistakes, learn from our idiocies, and just try to better ourselves.
But sometimes you reach a critical stage where you seek any kind of desperate measure and you try to kind of hold on to any hope that even something that is advocated to you that goes against your grain of intelligence or thought. To those people, what is your advice? Who have reached the end of their rope and are hanging on and holding on to anything, be it religious, be it spiritual, or be it an unfounded piece of advice?
See, for all this, the fundamental basis of these kind of aspirations or actions is because people are just shit scared of life. Why is it so? It's like this. Suppose you sat on a bicycle on stand, and started simply pedaling for fun. But it came off the stand and started rolling. Anxiety, faster, fear, very fast, terror. The fundamental reason is, but someone who knows how to ride a bicycle, the faster it goes, the better it is. Right. But for someone who does not know how to ride a bicycle, the moment it moves, terror will happen. So the fundamental thing is just this: you have been given a very complex and sophisticated vehicle to pass through the process of this life, which is human mechanism. There is body, mind, emotion, energy, many dimensions to it.
That is actually a very nice way to put life. Say that your body is but a vehicle to go through life. And the bike analogy to go with that too. That's an interesting way of putting that. I gotta find my way to put it that way too, because with the people I talk to, I definitely gotta find a way to associate the same way he said it, but a little bit different.
Essentially, this human mechanism is a very complex phenomenon. Now, you are going at it, you are trying to walk through life without understanding a thing about the vehicle that you're using. Every time it moves, there is terror. If it doesn't move, you want to die of boredom. If it moves, you're terrorized. There is no way out of it. Tell me one thing that human beings are not suffering. If they're poor, they suffer poverty. If they become rich, they suffer taxes. If they're not educated, they suffer that. You send them to school, endless suffering. They're not married, they suffer that. You get them married.
Yeah, I was heading to that next.
I didn't say a thing, they're the ones.
Well, that's an extreme validation of the institution.
So, tell me one thing that they're not suffering. So now somebody develops a philosophy, life is suffering. There are philosophies like this. Now it's not about life because you've not even touched life yet. All that you're dabbling with is right now your own thought and emotion, and it's going crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, you just dabbled it and already you're fearful of it, so you don't even try to live life because the little bit of life that you've touched, you're already fearful of it.
So you are on a bicycle that you don't know how to ride. But this is not just a simple two-wheeled bicycle, it's a complex machine. You don't know how to ride, you don't know how to manage your thought, you don't know how to manage your emotion. All these things, human experience is essentially happening from within you.
And about that, the thoughts and emotions, like again, my thoughts are quite rampant, but I like it because it attacks the thoughts that I have to make sure that I don't say necessarily idiotic things, even though it still comes out. And the emotions, I've learned a little bit how to kind of understand my emotions, but not quite fully control them yet.
Whether it's misery or joy, agony or ecstasy is happening from within you. At least what happens from within you must happen your way, isn't it? The world will not happen your way. But the problem now is, what happens within you is not happening your way. What's happening in your mind is a dream. Even your dream is not happening your way, that's the problem. The problem is not that your life is not happening your way, even your dream is not happening your way. And this is the source of their misery, but they think it's marriage, they think it's children, they think it's poverty. No. Fundamentally, it is just that you are not happening the way you want yourself to be. That's all your misery is. So, even if you want to learn to ride a bicycle, it's just a simple basic machine. It needs a certain level of attention and involvement, otherwise you can't ride a bicycle. It takes an enormous amount of intent to want to ride it, otherwise it's quite impossible to ride a bicycle. After you know how to ride it, you can let your hands off, you can close your eyes, all these things.
Pretty much like marriage. Because like wheels are turning but going nowhere, at times.
No, I wouldn't like to make that statement because for many people they've gotten somewhere with marriage.
Yes,
Yeah.
we'd like to find out where, but but on another forum. When you speak about suffering, Sadhguru, it is definitely something that I believe that self-pity sometimes is like a luxury spa. You know, it's somewhere where your comfort lies. Self-pity is, I believe, the most indulgent emotion and gets you nowhere but makes you feel really good for a certain period of time.
Self-pity. I'm wondering if self-pity… isn't that like a victimhood mentality as well? Or really closely related to that? And that's another thing that I'm seeing. It's people having this victimhood mentality. It's kind of… I mean, for people who don't really have what they're saying they have and just claiming it because they feel that way, whether it's happening or not, that is really detrimental to themselves and to the people they're saying that they have this. It really does. It's really detrimental for these people, whoever and whatever they're saying it to. It's kind of crazy. I see it in America, and it's kind of sad.
What is your take on something like self-pity?
How is being pitiful a luxury? I don't understand that.
It becomes, you know, you get great solace in that emotion for a short period of time.
Plus, also, you get, when you… again, it's closely related with victimhood mentality. It's the sheer fact that you get other people saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry for you. You deserve better. You deserve this. You deserve. And you're like, "Oh, I'm entitled to all this, but I can't get it because people's holding me back." Or actually, more along the lines of the fact that, "Oh, I can't do this because I'm being held back. Oh my gosh, I tried for this, but someone else took it because of the victimhood that I have. This identity that's holding me back, and it's not my fault that I failed. It's this reason or that reason, and that's the reason why I failed, and not the fact that I didn't try hard, or not the fact that I wasn't qualified. No, it's something else. It's this victim mentality that keeps holding people back, even though they don't realize that it's something else. It's themselves that are holding themselves back."
Self-pity can be the most happy place to be at, like self-indulgences.
See, there are many ways to achieve peace, happiness, well-being. This happened.
Sorry, the woman looked surprised.
He was a little abusive husband, verbally abusive. So he would rant at his wife, but she was always peaceful, never reacted. One day in the middle of his raging rant, he stopped and he asked, "Whatever I say, how much ever I abuse you, you are peaceful. How do you do this?" She said, "I clean the toilet." He said, "What? Cleaning the toilet, how does it make you peaceful?"
That toilet must be really bad. I would put a joke about Taco Bell because that's something that a lot of Americans would understand. I don't know if all my viewers understand that, but basically, the joke is the fact that Taco Bell makes you go have the runs in the bathroom. And for her to be saying, "Oh, if this is the worst, I can deal with it because the bathroom is a lot worse," man.
She said, I use your toothbrush.
Oh! No! Oh!
So, don't fall onto that.
You're giving lots of people ideas. So that's not a relationship, it's a revenge story.
Oh, that was…
You can achieve peace and solace in so many different ways, I'm saying.
Which is what you said, to draw from within, to find your solutions. Because the most exciting line that I read was that you know, life can't touch you, can't scratch you. It can't harm you. You know, you create your own energy in your own life. You know, life, you're in this universe, you've been brought into this world, and it's in your control what you do with it. You know, life has nothing against you. What you achieve and what you do is a result of your own actions, your feelings, the pleasantness that you create within yourself.
I will say life has nothing against you, but it also doesn't provide you anything as well. Everything in life you must achieve on your own. Life doesn't provide, but it doesn't go against. It does what it does, but you must achieve things on your own.
Which to me was a very moving line, because it simplified a very extensive and expansive feeling of anxiety, fear, and all the turbulence that humanity goes through on a daily basis. To me, 3 pillars of our existence are pretty much, you know, family, fortune, and farishta, which is what I believe, a result of God, religion, everything else. When we talk about family, Sadhguru, there are few things that have always intrigued me, and I seek answers, or rather validation, from a higher energy such as yourself. It's like I've always questioned why there's an organic distance between a father and son, why there is always that angst in that relationship. And I'm sure there are many in this house that have experienced that emotion in their own homes and their own environment. Where do you think the origin of that distance came?
Because every generation makes the same mistake, which means they're not learning at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's what you say. If you don't learn from your past, you're bound to repeat history.
When we say family, you know, in Italy, family meant crime.
Crime?
Yeah. Mafia was always referred to as the family.
Family.
Yes.
Hmm.
So in a way, it's a kind of crime. It is the most basic institution in the making of a society, but it does not mean you must remain basic, because this is a biological identity that we have. Biology is a reality, we can't deny it. Obviously, this was in some way, at least to a certain extent, our parents gave this to us, one part of it at least. Today the way it is, the way it looks is essentially because of them. Well, it was given to them by somebody else, that's another point, but to us it was given by them. So it's a biological identity. This limiting oneself to one's biological identity for an entire lifetime is a crime, because it creates so many things. In this country has suffered a lot from a long time. Just now you released the Mahabharata video. Entire Mahabharata is family problem. It is Dhritarashtra syndrome. We are still suffering. My son is best, no matter what. Even today we are suffering the same thing. My son is best and he should become the king no matter what. It's not
Some sons haven't managed very well, some have.
So, family is a basic identity that we are born with. It's a wonderful thing when you're a child, because without that family support, you wouldn't be who you are today in many ways, okay?
Well, you will always be what you are today, with or without the family, I will say. But it is how you become, or what you become, that really matters of how you're raised. So, I get what he's saying. Generally speaking, if you're… In America, I've heard the statistics too, that generally kids who are raised with a mother and father in the house generally grow up very well. They end up being successful, relatively speaking. But when the father's missing, it tends to, the child has a high rate of failure in society. So, and that's something, again, something I also look at and I worry about in America, because it is, you could say, damaging in the sense to society, but also to people in general. And one famous person, I think it's Denzel Washington, says that if there's not a father in the house, they'll find a father in the streets, and it's usually not a very good father. So, and whenever he said that about how you're raised with your family, it just made me think about all that stuff that I've kind of kept up with a little bit recently as well.
With all due respect and regard and great respect for the family, because human creature is born in such a way that as soon as you fall out of your mother's womb, you're not ready to get up on your feet and do things like other creatures. It needs a long gestation period before a man becomes a man or a woman becomes a woman. There is a long period where the incubation of family is most important and vital, there's no question about that. But you're supposed to grow beyond that identity. But a whole lot of people just never grow beyond that identity, for which they suffer, and sometimes if they're born in certain places, they make the entire nation suffer.
Ooh. I was gonna say, I mean, I'm sorry I'm giving my opinions, but this is what this channel's about. So, I think it's not necessarily a bad thing to have that identity. But yeah, what he's saying is about growing out of it. The family is the basis of your identity, but as you grow up, your identity changes according to your circumstances and how you interpret life. And hopefully that's a positive impact in your life. How you interpret life, how you interact with life, kind of shapes, in a sense, who you are. Even though, like Sadhguru was talking about earlier, that you have absolute control over your life, but a lot of people who ride that bike are kind of shaped by the path that they're going down this hill, and instead of them controlling the bike and navigating that hill, they're kind of just going with the hill and end up navigating wherever the hill or the path that they're following navigates them to. Because they're not controlling their life, they're being influenced by exterior things, as opposed to taking control and saying, no, I'm going this way, I want this path, I want this path. Instead, they're like, oh gosh, oh no, and just going wherever the hill, that path leads them to.
You are supposed to grow out of that. As a child, it's most vital that you're identified with the family.
Oh, sorry.
But as an adult, you're supposed to grow beyond your biology, because biology is the most basic identity. One has to grow beyond that. So having said that, is it necessary that every father and every son has to have some kind of angst? It is not about father and son. It is just two men being accommodated in the same home. When you were 8, 10, your father was godlike. So this problem started after you became 15, 16, when you want to be a man and there's not enough space. This big man is occupying too much space, and that man thinks this is my space and who's this? They can't recognize each other as father and son, because now there is no father and son, there are two men in the same house. And there's not enough space. This happens not just in human families. Every creature, whether it's an elephant or a buffalo or whatever, in every creature's life, this happens, that there will be some friction and either the younger one goes out or the older one goes out. This happens everywhere, because this is not a problem between father and son. This is two men trying to share the same space and the same woman called mother to one and wife to the other.
Two men. Well, that certainly breaks a very strong myth that this country is operated with, because the problem was always meant to be two women in the same house, and you just changed it on its head, which I believe is true. Because I believe the problem lies in the fact that two men can't be accommodated.
No, it also happens between women in a different way.
Yeah.
But women have a way of covering their frictions in certain way. They do it in a certain way, in a feminine way.
Yeah.
Men will do it in more head on.
Yeah.
Head-butting is the man's way. Woman's way is different, she will do it differently, but the friction happens.
And I feel it's always like the, you know, the mother energy of the house that sometimes has to bear the brunt of this tussle in a family. It's also the other thing that, an offshoot of that thought, is that I believe very strongly.
Okay, I'm going to pause right there because I'm running a little long, but yeah, that's actually very interesting. What he talked about, how men's energy and females' energy, how the friction is a bit different, which again, it's very fascinating because what is it? I've watched videos about how men and women interact with each other, especially in relationships, even with groups of men and women. There was a show that I watched on YouTube. Sorry, this is the end of the video. If you want to end it right here, I'm just gonna babble on about something related to what he said that I've not witnessed but watched. Anyways, there's a bunch of kids, and what they did is they put these kids in these houses and they let them have. They had no parents there. They had a counselor that's locked in the room, but she was not, the counselor, whether it's a her or he, I don't know, was not permitted to leave that room. That counselor needed to stay in that room and only was there for emergency reasons or whenever the child needed counseling. And it was very fascinating to see how the boys interacted with each other. And this they basically kind of form a hierarchy in some sense, and also how the resolution between issues were resolved in terms of a little bit of fighting, but not physical fighting yet. I don't think I saw that in there because there's camera crews, I think, still there, you know, filming it obviously. But and how the women did it were just different. It was just very fascinating. Women, they don't exactly show their anger or their troubles the same way as men. And again, I watched another video which kind of confirms that, where it's a psychologist, I believe, that studied boys and girls, and the way the boys did it, they fight, and then they end up becoming best friends. She said not all the time, but like a high percentage of time. Whereas women, the way they fought was they talk bad about each other, and they don't how to say, talk to each other in terms of their problems. They tend to just pretend to be friends, but in realities they don't like each other, and they end up tending not to have that resolved, and they end up becoming enemies later on in life because of the way female handles it. Can't remember the psychologist in the video that I watched, which is very fascinating. And then again, Jordan Peterson also had his idea of why women cooperate and how men cooperate. It's just really interesting, and how he said that, very fascinating. Again, like I said, it's just interesting to hear a lot of things kind of, how to say, lining up in a certain way that kind of matches each thing, and you can kind of see that in life if you just observe it. But anyways, that's enough of me babbling here. So that's the first part of this. I don't know how many parts there is. There's 2 hours left of this, so we'll see. So that's my first part of Karan Johar in conversation with Sadhguru. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.